Efforts to overhaul the NAFTA free trade agreement are entering a critical new phase with the arrival of the Canadian foreign minister in Washington today. President Trump and his outgoing Mexican counterpart announced a preliminary deal yesterday to replace the trade agreement for the three North American countries. Stocks hit record highs, even though Mr. Trump threatened to place tariffs on Canadian-made cars if Canada does not reach a deal. The Wall Street Journal editorial board writes this morning, on first inspection, this is half a NAFTA that contains some improvements, but is notably worse in many ways. Whether it can pass Congress is far from certain. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here. Jill, good morning.
Good morning.
A tentative agreement, still not a deal, but the impact, front page of USA Today, likely will mean higher car prices for all Americans.
Right, because a part of this plan is really to strengthen some of the labor components of NAFTA. So there are two big parts of the automobile sector that would be influenced by this potential preliminary deal. The first is that 75% of a car's value would have to be made in Mexico and the U.S. And that's basically a way to say any goods coming from China that pass through Mexico can't backdoor their way into the U.S. The other part is that 40 to 45% of car components would have to be made by manufacturers paying at least $16 an hour. So imagine that would raise the costs for cars, which could potentially be passed along to consumers. It also may actually create many jobs,
right,
so
yeah.
That could be good, but prices could go up.
But it also means wages go up for those workers.
Indeed. I mean, wages go up either in Mexico for those workers or here in the U.S., those workers are already getting those wages. It's a way to prevent U.S. companies from sending those jobs to cheaper facilities in Mexico.
What does it mean for trade relations between the U.S. and Canada?
Well, this is a really interesting phase. And as we said in the intro, the Canadian Foreign Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is actually in D.C. today. This is going to get heated. Canada had two big beefs with the United States. They basically said, you deal with Mexico, but there are two issues we really care about. We don't want this whole deal to sunset after 5 years. The U.S. had said, we want that to happen. The government already gave on that. So in the deal with Mexico, it's a 16-year deal to be reviewed every 6 years. So Canada's going to be happy about that. But there's another part where the U.S. has said, we don't want the dispute resolution to take place as currently written. They kind of want to water it down. And Canada has said that's a no deal for them. So it could get contentious here. We really want to see Canada participate. We'll call it NAFTA 2.0, which I think would be an improvement for the U.S.
Or the Wall Street Journal calls it half a NAFTA.
Half a NAFTA.
What do you think about that character?
Well, I think that
I just like saying half a NAFTA.
Half a NAFTA, I know.
What do you
with
think
a
of
twist.
that? Yeah, what do you think
I
of
think
that?
the problem is that until you have Canada signing on, this could get very thorny. And having a bilateral deal is not as good as a trilateral deal. Remember, U.S. manufacturers and industries, they have adjusted to this. This has been in place since 1994. They don't want to see huge changes because they are already running a business that actually can reflect NAFTA. These improvements could help. Some losers will start squawking, but again, the faster we get this done, the better it will be.
All right, to be continued for sure. Thank you, Jill. Always good to see you.